This is me. I am V.RUINS, and I have many faces. I am a consultant for Web3 and digital art, and I have been consulting international conferences and speaking all over the world. Miami, Seoul, multiple places in Europe, London, Czech Republic. I am also an artist, and at the end of this presentation, we're going to see a little bit of what I do. I mainly work with AI agents, meaning that we create systems that essentially implement multiple LLM and other AI generative functions working together through APIs and programming. I'm also a producer and curator, and we will see a little bit of what I do there. And I'm also running a guerrilla gallery concept where I do essentially guerrilla performance and at the same time curate artists. When describing myself, it's always been hard. I've always been a little bit of a rough person here in Italy for what I do in terms of digital art curation. Recently, in a call with Alessia Cuccu, which is one of the people who organized this activation, she called me an agitator, and she was like, but in a good way. And I was like, oh, I feel understood, I feel heard. Like, yes, that is what I am. I am an agitator, I am an agitator. And I'll tell you something else. I am exactly where I want to be after 4 years of being an agitator here in Italy. Checkmate. I started 4 years ago with my crypto art journey by releasing an NFT collection with the entire idea of just doing bottom-up crowdfunding to start original, feel-good, community-driven and artist-driven events in Italy. Started from bars, started from clubs, and the nature of this crowdfunding was very peculiar to me because rather than going through traditional medias, I was getting alternative funding from alternative culture makers, and I was able to present something completely new and open a new narrative in Italy. We started very small, but this small little project, which was mostly run by donations from high-profile crypto art people, now has gotten to a point where we have been able to start producing our own crowdsourcing and crowdfunding platform. You might recognize some of these people below. We have very important figures in the crypto art culture, like Robness, exhibited at the center of Pompidou, Token Angels, who's a great art collector, Phantom Scribbler, who regularly spends millions on AI art, Superchief Gallery, which is the first NFT gallery in the world, and of course, Xcopy is recently one of the artists that has been starting to support and sponsor us. And I believe that with a group of people like this, there is a lot of promise and a lot of understanding on the fact that what we do is very meaningful in crypto art, and it has been creating an impact in being very alternative in our approach. So we started in bars, and this is where we are now in 4 years. So this is why I'm saying I'm very happy of the result. I'm very happy that the approach that we took paid off. Because when you are extremely original, when you have a take that maybe sometimes is counterculture, you do have some patrons that maybe come from alternative and counterculture realms of finance that might be interested to patronage you. And so when you get magic internet friends and magic internet money, sometimes you get the opportunity to do some very magical things. At 26 years old, I never thought that I would be producing events in one of the largest immersive spaces in Europe, but this was us who not only were able to finance this, but we were also able to finance we were like the biggest art sponsor at the expo area at Video Città. So we took over 5 entire booths, and this is through crypto art fundraising and patronage. I'm actively bringing for the past 4 years international brands, international collectors, patrons to bring funds to Italy and to bring internationally acclaimed artists to Italy. Regularly, we sponsor residencies when we invite artists from all over the world, from Miami, South America, and as I said, we work with several large brands. This has allowed me to have the incredible opportunity to develop an extensive network all over the world with some people who are considered to be OG of crypto art, people that have been experimenting a lot with generative AI, with generative art, and people that now, after 4 years of relationship, find themselves in very powerful positions in the realm of digital art and are now converging their interest and support towards us to further help shaping in Italy what can be the digital revolution. Now, I was able to do this for crypto art. You might be interested to know that I've started to do this for the past 2 years also in AI art. I started to hang out with some very high-profile people in the AI art industry. Namely, you might know some names like Refi Canadol, We are super close with their collectors group, and we regularly are invited to a lot of his meetups to hang out with him and his team. And it's very interesting what he's doing. Dataland is looking to be a very interesting museum, and data sculpture, I believe that they're just going to be getting bigger and bigger. Also with the arrival of Touch Designer as a medium that is being more understood, we're probably going to see more data sculptures. In terms of data sculptures, you might be familiar with Orkan. Orkan is an Azerbaijani artist who is also working officially with the Azerbaijani government in terms of representing through data sculptures the Azerbaijani culture. We're going to speak later about Mario Klingemann, who has recently become one of my favorite artists in AI, and besides being a good friend, has also been a collector of mine. And here we have a very nice group of people that I was able to meet recently in Istanbul for a dedicated event to AI art. So, you know, some people might think, okay, so you're starting to get to meet these people now. When are we going to be able to see like this impact on AI art in Italy? It's already happening. We already brought several high-profile artists in Italy, and we already started doing incredible collaborations with them. There is an incredible artist that is championing the use of comfy UI and stable diffusion. That's Purds XYZ, and we did a massive exhibition with him in Rome. We did the first exhibition of Botto DAO, both an immersive, interactive, and also, besides the immersive and interactive, also at the Video Città Fair. We invited from New York Torin Blankensmith, which is one of the leading figures in Touch Designer, and especially in implementing AI APIs inside of the platform. And of course, we invited Ivona Tao with us in Naples to collaborate with a foundation, with an art foundation in Naples. She did a wonderful job with GANs, which we're gonna see later what they are, and she did an entire GAN training of the images from the foundation archive. So, I believe that a lot of people have to start changing their mind on what an artwork is, because the mediums are changing. We saw this with blockchain. A lot of people didn't really fully understand that blockchain, besides being a way to certify your artworks, was itself a medium for your art. AI is creating new opportunities for new mediums of art. This is the singularity curve by Kurzweil, and essentially just maps the timeline between each technological revolution and how much time was passing between one revolution and the other, and the total computational power of computer. Funny enough, if we go here, around 2023, it is said that computer power calculation will surpass brain power of human. Funny enough, we are in 2024, and ChatGPT has released O1, which in terms of IQ test is above average of humans. So I would say that we are in line with what the Kurzweil curve has foreseen for us. So I really urge, with this talk that I'm going to be doing, which first is going to focus a little bit on real analysis of different mediums of art for AI, and to really open our minds on being able to see a new array of possibilities of how artworks are going to be presenting themselves to us in the future in completely new mediums. So, one conversation that I saw that started earlier was like, define AI, you know? It's very hard right now because the main problem is that how do you define something which has not fully shown itself to us, which has not fully revealed itself to us. As we showed earlier, you know, in this term of singularity curve, there is literally a moment which is foreseen in 2045 where the computer power will surpass the brain power equivalent of all the human beings combined. So we cannot even fathom what that looks like. So how can you define something that you cannot fathom, right? So it is a little bit tricky to define what AI is, especially when you think that a couple of years ago, AI was considered just recommendation algorithms. You know, you go on Google Maps tells you the best way from point A to point B. Wow, that's AI. No, today we just call it a recommendation algorithm. You watch a show, Netflix tells you, oh, if you like this show, it's about war, maybe you're gonna like this other show about war, you know? That's a recommendation algorithm. We don't call it AI anymore, same for Amazon. So let's get a little bit into understanding all the ramifications of what are the fields of research and study in AI. So the first one that we can talk about is exactly what we just said, pattern recognition, right? Look at these wonderful organic-based machines learning through pattern recognition, right? This is something that we can really see ourselves into, you know? And as with children, you have this study of understanding what shape fits where, what word is associated to each image. This is literally similar training that goes into pattern recognition for machine learning. Now, what is interesting is that you get into two different versions of what can be machine learning, which is supervised and unsupervised, and then there's also reinforcement training, which is pretty fun. In a supervised environment, essentially you're giving to the machine learning model a data set with labels. So you're not really giving him a lot of freedom to make non-linear thought patterns. It's very simple. You're telling him, this is an elephant, this is the image, this is the label. You know that this is an elephant, right? On a non-supervised machine learning, on the other hand, you have a series of data sets that are fed to the AI, which not necessarily are labeled with an explanation or a cataloging of what they are, which means that now you're giving the possibility to the machine learning algorithm to try to guess. We call them hallucinations, but you know, it's a virtue. He's trying to guess. He's going off the rails. He's going off what normal programming does, which is what makes incredibly interesting machine learning. And why is reinforcement such an interesting thing? It's like when you get a candy when you do something good and you get punished when you do something bad. In an unsupervised environment of machine learning, by adding reinforcement, you're able to create a situation in which the machine learning algorithm, by making mistakes, by hallucinating, slowly learns by himself what is the correct answer, but still maintaining a non-linear thought. Now, what is very interesting is that when you get a very complex machine learning algorithm, you start to talk about neural networks, right? And neural networks are specialized in solving nonlinear problems. So when you get enough neural networks, which are said to resemble a lot our own neural system as humans, you start to get into the field of deep learning. So from machine learning, you start to going into deep learning, where the level of complexity that the algorithm can manage is becoming so big that now the difference in brain calculating power between a human being and a machine is becoming visible, at least the speed of learning. Just to let you know, for example, most of the Boston Dynamics and Amazon robots that are being developed right now are not being trained in the real world, for example. They get trained in simulations. So robots are learning, for example, how to walk without even being in the real world, just running simulations. And the speed at which they can learn how to move in these virtual environments much surpasses any type of speed a human being can learn something. So, you know, this is us, little human beings with our 2 neurons crying behind a mask, thinking we're the gods creating AI, and here is our GigaChad neural network. Now, when you talk about neural networks, one first interesting example is generative adversary networks, also known as GANs. This is a little bit of generative AI history. We can say that in 2014, we start to have the first experimentations of GANs. And essentially, a GAN is 2 neural networks put against each other. And one is the generator, and the other one essentially acts as a critic. So there is no text to image here. You're not prompting anything. You're not saying, I want to see an image of a duck, I want to see an image of a house. You're just creating a data set of images, in this case, a data set of beautiful cats. I've just been to Istanbul, so I saw just so many cats, so I had to put cats in here. And then the generating GAN will try to generate images of cats. And on the other hand, the critical one is going to be trained in understanding if the image that is being presented is a cat, looks like a cat, or not. So in this case, we don't still have text to image, but we have some early experimentation of image generation from data sets of images into making these neural networks try to have this this non-linear learning pattern, and essentially have this back and forward, trying to always improve the quality of the image. A very good example is Ian Goodfellow, who in 2013 released this research paper, where you can see, you know, a little bit of the training process of a GAN, a generative adversary network. It is quite interesting to see, I believe, that it is a beautiful part of history in terms of AI generative art that needs to be cherished more. And in terms of artists today that are working with GAN, I'm a big fan of Ivona Tau, who we recently had in Naples for an art residency. And she has specialized herself in working with GANs. She's also a photographer. She's been working a lot with her own data sets. And we just highly recommend to follow her and to check what she's doing, simply because it's a very interesting field of research, and she's also a PhD researcher inside of AI machine learning. So now we're going to do a little bit of an evolution. From generative adversary networks, we're going to move into text-to-image. So around 2015-16, there starts to be this little revolution where from GANs, we start to go to text-to-image. So for the first time, we have this concept of the prompting. So transforming words into images. And a very good example from 2015 is Align Draw. So these are some of the first ever text-to-image generated images. These are the very first examples of a person creating a program saying, in this case, I want to see a toilet in a green grass field. I want to see a large commercial airplane in the sky. I want to see a stop sign in the sky. I want to see an orange school bus in the street. So as you can see, it's not a great result, especially when comparing it, for example, to some of the GAN results that we saw earlier. But still, this is incredible pioneering work done by a really good friend of ours. I forgot to put the name, but anyway, I think it's an Asian name, but it's supposed to be like, Gordon, can you help me? Do you remember his name? Elrond, something like that? Okay, we'll figure it out later. But essentially, in his research, what he did is using this little node called Vi, which essentially is able to transform the words that you put into the prompt into attention points in order to facilitate the alignment of the generation of the image with a list of data sets regarding that word that you requested. So instead of having one trained data set for the GAN, imagine that you have a piled sets of data sets of images, and then you have this new system with Vi and attention mechanisms, where by putting a word, is able to do a similar situation where it generates progressively, one frame at a time, the complexity of the composition of the image, trying to create essentially what you asked based on the attention words. Now, this was a very interesting study from 2015. Sadly enough, shortly after, Transformers and Diffusion came out, and very sad for Align Draw, but not too sad because recently he dropped a collection of his Align Draw works from 2015, and they're selling very good as NFTs. So yes, he's sad because maybe his research never became commercially available, but he still is making a lot of money as artist, even though he doesn't consider himself an artist, which is quite fun. So yeah, everybody started to look towards transformers and diffusion models. You might be aware of some of them here. Essentially, transformers make it extremely easy to do what the VIA and attention mechanisms were doing earlier, so associating data set of images to words, right? And for example, this helps incredibly also in the management of data sets of information, not only for image generation like with DALL-E 3, but also for text writing with ChatGPT. So now that we have gotten to a point where we've seen GANs, we have seen text-to-image, we're understanding that through transformers and stability models, there is a whole array of different tools of AI that are being created. Text-to-image, image to video, image to text. No? There is a whole sort of plugins and functions that we can play with. It starts getting very fun when you start to combine them together. And this is where we get closer into the field of AI agents. This is an early example of a performative sculpture by artist Mario Klingemann, and this wonderful robotic dog has a machine vision eye through which he can freely observe artworks instead of a gallery, generate through an LLM model inside a critique to the artwork, and then poop it from a thermic printer from his ass. So this is a beautiful critique piece where essentially you have a dog coming inside of a gallery, looking at an art piece, and then pooping the critique from his ass. It is a very interesting use of large language models in art, and I believe that this is a field that it still needs to be explored and has potential to explode, and it is potentially one of the new mediums that we were talking about. So implementing large language models and AI agent functions that connect multiple AI functions to create a performative installation or performative sculpture. So, in a sort of way, we could say that today, a work of art can look like this. This is, for example, some of the nodes solutions that I have for my project, which I'm going to be presenting to you now, called Seance. So, it used to be oil on Canva, and now it's this for many of us. This is the LLM model. It works by implementing multiple large language models, including ChatGPT, of course, from OpenAI, but also Anthropic, giving different prompting and instructions to each one of them, making them collaborate to supervise the answer of the LLM so that the answer is layered. So, for example, when ChatGPT released o1, they sold it to you saying, oh, yes, now when you speak with ChatGPT, before answering, he thinks. Well, I was doing this before o1. Simply, you just put a couple of trained GPT nodes, and so before he answers to you, the answer gets filtered by a series of supervised nodes that just help better the answer. In fact, I was not super impressed of O1, to be honest, because essentially it's just like a faster AI agent. And on the other hand, this is an interface from Comfy UI, which I find extremely useful to utilize diffusion models like Stable Diffusion. And it allows for a lot of customization. It can be exported as an API. It can be put on cloud. And my work is mainly mobile app and website based. We are going to be seeing it soon. And so for me, being able to work with both APIs for the AI agent in terms of speech and some elements of image generation and then more complex image generation allows me to have a lot of fun that else I would not be able to have without these tools. To going directly inside of the project, I have a very big criticism about how AI art is being explored. I believe that we have been completely scarred by Blade Runner, and our generation has a very hard time imagining how to contextualize AI in our world, in our lives, without doing some sort of like knockoff of Blade Runner aesthetic or Blade Runner thoughts. So similarly to like a Tim Burton or similarly to I don't know, some other artistic movie director, I decided to reinterpret completely how, in my opinion, AI agents could, be presented as an art form, be presented as something that can join our daily lives. So I decided to create haunted paintings. I decided to become a seller of cursed artifacts, and I created a collection of 7 haunted paintings. These are physical paintings, generated with AI, and then transformed in a studio in Milano into physical pieces. Each one of them, we're going to see now, contains in itself a couple pieces of technology that allows them to be connected to a custom mobile app that I've been developing with my team. Long story short, the app right now acts as a scan. So when you're in proximity of the painting, it connects with the painting, as you can see here. You're going to start a seance, which is the name of the project. And seance also means a spiritual session where you speak with the dead. And the very complex node system that you saw earlier is what is going to generate the answers of this ghost. So you're going to be speaking with this ghost. He has an own story. He has an own interaction pattern. Each one of them is sort of like an abstract experience. For example, this one is the ghost of an American playwright and critic who was murdered. And so his entire plot line is the fact that he's trying to find who murdered him. And he's working on themes, for example, of victimism and themes of seeing the world as always being at fault and seeing the world with a judging eye. And so the interaction with this ghost is mainly meant for people to reflect on how sometimes we're very judging of the world outside. Plus, it serves for a wonderful thriller story where you essentially go through his last memories and try to understand who killed him. Now, the fun part of this experience with Seance is that not only I got to experience working more into playwriting, which is part of my background. I come from New York Film Academy Conservatory for theater and movie production. I've worked with the City Company in New York and with Toga in Japan. I also worked with the World Trade Center by Jerzy Grotowski and Thomas Richards, which are two well-known alternative theater producers from Poland. So I know a little bit about storytelling and playwriting, let's just say that. And I literally wrote 300 pages of biography for each one of the ghosts. I created the stories, I created the archetypes, and all the interaction mechanisms. So as I was saying, in the painting, there's a piece of technology which is essentially a Bluetooth beacon. It connects to the app. The app is connected to the APIs that generate the images and generate the responses. Why did I say generate images? Because let's look very quickly at this model. So not only we have a series of documents, these are like the biography, then we have the emotional spectrum. So like when he answers, he analyzes how I prompted him to reply in terms of emotional spectrum with his emotions on certain topics, contextual triggers, so things that you say that might interest him and trigger him in certain ways, tone of voice and personality, and then here is the biography. So this is just like the knowledge base of this ghost. In total, it's like 500 pages and something like that. Anthropic, essentially that node is for the character persona, so essentially helps in getting a very good response. This is the old model, by the way, the one that we released with the demo of the app. This one essentially analyzes the knowledge base, analyzes your message that you sent to the ghost, analyzes the reply of the ghost, and it's very fun. It generates a subconscious thought. So the AI character is not aware of the text that is going to be generated from this LLM. He doesn't know what's going on here. But this taps into his biography, taps into the conversation, taps into his emotional spectrum, and simulates a subconscious thought. This subconscious thought then is run into another node that generates a prompt that goes into this multimodal node that generates an image. So this was the old model. You were speaking with the ghost, and as you're speaking with the ghost is developing a subconscious thought, and that subconscious thought of a memory is being transformed into an image. So not only you're speaking with the ghost, you're generating memories with the ghost. As you speak with him, he's remembering things of his life. And I thought that this was like extremely interesting, because sometimes you're speaking with the ghost and he's generating these abstract compositions, you don't really know what's going on. And so I added another node that essentially reads the subconscious thought and then essentially gives you hints into the meanings of the abstract images. Now, this brings us to the next step of this project. I already sold 4 of the 700 paintings. The remaining 3 are already set to go in 3 different galleries for auctions and planned for sale. One of them is coming with me to Japan for an art residency. They've been exhibited pretty much everywhere in Italy, in Naples with a foundation, in Rome with V.RUINS, in Milano with Meet. And now the next phase is, as soon as the last paintings are sold out, I'm going to release on the website and on the app the minting of the memories as NFTs. So now the collectors of the paintings are going to essentially be able to share with a group of people access to conversation with the ghost, and they're going to be able to mint selected memories as NFTs. Every memory is not only visual, it's attached to like part of the conversation that generated it, is attached to the subconscious thought. And so when you are minting the image as an NFT, you are essentially helping me as an artist curate the data set to upgrade the ghost. So this is going to be a new data set of images of his memories, a new data set of subconscious thoughts that are going to help further shape and give depth to these ghosts. The funny thing is that you as a collector, you're also building memories with this ghost. And if you decide to collect memories in which you are present somehow, this is part of a future section of the project where I want the ghost to be able to remember you. So if you have collected this painting, I want it to become a cultural heritage, a family heritage. So it will learn about you, it will learn about your mother, it will create profiles about you and your mother. Then we're going to enable imagery recognition, and we're also going to try to enable data sets of imagery. So he's going to start creating data sets not only of what he thinks about you and information about you, but also images about you, which means that 2 generations from now, when my grandchildren are going to come to this painting and speak to the painting might have a memory of me. And might not only speak of me, even if I'm dead, but it might also generate visual memories of me and my interactions with him. So this is a way for me to sort of tap through this very mystical sort of like family heritage, cursed object, but technically I'm tapping into family heritage. Like I'm trying to create alternative performative sculptures that can be presented in a way that is not too much like Blade Runner, but it's an interesting, fun way to insert AI agents and AI inside of your life in a very creative and fun way. This is not all. As I was telling you, like these are some, again, like I don't prompt these. Like these are automatically generated from the ghost as you speak with them. And you're not even prompting. Like you, when you speak with a ghost, you're not telling him, hey, show me this memory. You're just having a normal conversation with him, and he just like autonomously generates this by himself. So it's a very cool autonomous process. And as I was telling you, every memory is attached to the text interaction clip and the subconscious thought process that gets minted and added to the metadata. Now, that I've shown you, the paintings, is just one part of the overall Seance project. I had the pleasure to experiment first with working with AI generative art and paintings. Now I'm moving into photography. So I'm about to release on the same app and website a collection of 50 AI-generated photos of paranormal investigations. And on the app, you're going to be able not only to speak with the haunted paintings that you detect, you're also going to be able to speak with a photographer and send him to missions, essentially, to investigate paranormal activities, and he's going to come back to you with interesting lore, interesting stories, and he's going to ask you if you're interested in minting the paranormal photography that he took to help him manage an archive of the paranormal. This is because through one single app, which is the Seance app, I'm planning to have multiple releases of different types of artworks. I'm going to explore painting, photography. This is an early exploration of text to 3D sculpting. And I'm going to be releasing performative installations AI agent pieces integrated, mainly physical, and then always extend these physical pieces with digital experiences like I did with the memories of the ghost. That said, I hope you liked it a lot. It was very fun for me to be here. White screen. No. Thank you. There you go.